Hi, I'm Alex Roman, Executive Editor for Metro Magazine. Welcome back to METROspectives. My guest today is Mark Szyperski, President and CEO of On Your Mark Transportation. Today, Mark joins me to discuss disaster preparedness, his experiences at the recent Motorcoach conferences, and much more. It's a great conversation. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to METROspectives. My guest today is Mark Szyperski, and his team over at On Your Mark Transportation just wrote an article on preparedness, emergency preparedness, which is an ideal topic with the tornado season and all that stuff coming up, but also where I'm based in California with fire season. So thanks, Mark, for joining us. How's it going today?
It is going great. Thank you for having me on, and especially thank you for talking about this important topic.
Yeah, I mean it was a timely article, obviously, with everything going on. I wanted to start first with, based on some of your work, how many agencies do you gather are prepared for something in an emergency kind of state? I mean, is it something where they are generally prepared but not really sure, or is there kind of a lack of preparation that you find?
I've visited 250 bus, motor coach, and transit agencies over the last few years, and I've really found that most are not prepared at all. Right down to I have now started, it's kind of taken on a passion of its own, that when I go into a business for any reason, I try and find the newest person and I ask them, if there was a fire, where would you go? And that person almost always says outside, which is, of course, obvious.
Right.
But I say, where outside? And they go, well, why? What does it matter? And more often than not, I'm finding out people don't know or don't think about ahead of time where to go in case of a fire. I had a business where it was just a couple people, a maintenance person and a front office person, and there was a large electrical panel outside the office, outside in the garage area of the maintenance. And I asked the maintenance person, where would you go? And in his case, very rightfully, he said, I'm going to go outside to the marshaling area and stand there. I said, that's great. What about Susie Q up front? And he went, oh, I forgot about her. Yeah, that's kind of important.
Right.
But in his defense, I went to the front office and asked her, where would you go? I'd run out the front door. And I said, okay, so how is maintenance going to know that you've got a fire in here? She went, oh, I forgot about him. I says, good. So at least you're both forgetting about each other.
Right.
That's not a good thing, but so we had a fun discussion about it. But people need to know and have a marshaling area where everybody goes. She had no clue what the sign meant. She saw it, but didn't know what it meant. They need to know where to go so you can do a head count, whether it's 2 people or 50 people. They all need to go and have a system for counting heads in case of a fire.
Right.
So it's been that way. And another operation I went to, we talked about tornadoes. The beautiful, beautiful office, all glass along the front. And everybody, there was no offices, nothing else, just pure glass, and everybody worked in an open area behind that. And I asked, where would you go in case of a tornado? And someone raised their hand because we did this as a group. And they said, oh, I got the answer to that one. We'd go to the IT room. It's right in the middle of the building. Now, I had already done a walkthrough visit. And I said, are you sure you're going to go to the IT room? Everybody said, oh, yeah, that's where we have to go, is to the IT room. Well, the IT person raised his hand. He says, no, I know where he's going with this. We took the door off of the IT room, and there's no door there because everybody kept shutting the door and all the computer equipment got too hot. So we can't go in that room anymore. And I said, that's exactly right, because the last few people that got into the door, when a tornado comes, glass implodes, not explodes. Yeah. So it's going to come in. And the last few people that are standing near the door are going to get stabbed with all that glass. So you need to find someplace else. And that's why people need to talk about this, because year after year, things change from one year to another.
Yeah. Before we get too deep in the woods on the article, I think I'm curious as far as kind of a plan. I mean, just so people know, I mean, what kind of plan or what kind of things they should plan for. Um, how serious of an emergency are we talking about? Are we talking about a small emergency, like a small fire, or possibly an active shooter kind of lockdown sort of thing, and getting into earthquakes, fires, tornadoes, things like that. Are you talking to basically just have a emergency plan in general?
Having an emergency plan in general for everything, but you bring up a good point. Other places I've visited, I've asked office personnel, have you ever used a fire extinguisher, or do you even know how to use a fire extinguisher? And usually 70% of the people in the office have never used or thought about or even considered how to use a fire extinguisher. They see it on the wall. They're not even sure they can get it off the wall because no one's taken time. So you could have a small basket fire or a small kitchen fire, and no one's going to know what to do because no one's talked about it. Now, of course, from there, we go into the earthquakes and the tornadoes, but it could be something as simple as what happened if there was an error in the sprinkler system and everything flooded. Do you have the backup records and the backup system to be able to start work the next day if all your sprinklers went off?
Right.
So it could be anything. It just takes time. And I know none of us have enough time to do it. And that's what I'm finding. I give this as a webinar also for state associations, both transit and Motorcoach. And I'm hearing at the trade shows, people come back to me saying, I learned from that. I went back to my office and I was shocked at how little people knew in our office. So we're working on it.
That's great. I mean, I guess awareness is the first step, right?
It is very much the first step. Yes.
So what are some of the keys, in your article, and you could discuss this a little bit, and some of the things you discussed in webinar. What are some of the keys that you point out, to address in these emergency plans?
Well, the first one is just like you said, start with the very simple. Make sure everyone knows where to go for a fire, or earthquake or tornado, and just do something simple as walk up to someone in the office and say, right now, there's a tornado coming. Where are you going? Because it's that kind of off the shelf. All of a sudden, that's where people go, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. That's the problem. So we start with that. And then a company probably needs to go much, much deeper. And what happens if you had to replace the office? This is something no one ever talks about. Office is gone and you want to start. Oh, I'll just get one of those construction trailers. Okay. So you're going to get a construction trailer. Have you checked on zoning? Because sometimes zoning won't allow you to just stick a construction trailer on your property. So it's not just as simple as, oh, we're going to do this. You've got to check out that stuff ahead of time.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, I always ask, where's your emergency plan? And they go, oh, it's right here on this shelf right here. Okay, good. So there was a fire last night. How are you going to get to your emergency plan?
Right.
So,
about how much time investment would you say that there is in this? Because you just made it sound like it could be like daunting for somebody to maybe go through the steps of finding out, can I get a construction trailer? This is my plan. Is this allowed? Sort of thing. But how much time would you say an operation would have to dedicate to kind of putting this plan together?
honestly, not that much if they take the team and break it down by the team and everybody takes one little piece. It's like they always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right.
And that's what this is. It's daunting for any one person, safety director or anyone, to take this on by themselves. But if the sales director calls City Hall and asks about zoning, And if the maintenance person calls and asks about the sprinkler system, and if someone else calls and everybody takes a piece, I think if you lay out the plan on one Saturday, give them a couple weeks, come back together, and everybody has their answers, and everybody's feet are held to the fire. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another meeting. I think that most of the plan can come together rather quickly.
Okay. And some of the other things, some of the other points in the article that you kind of touched on, and obviously, I think the first one is obvious is communication, right? I mean, it's not only communicating the plan, but once the kind of the plan is put into action, maintaining that communication throughout that process as well.
Yes, I've asked a lot of companies, do you have a phone call tree or some sort of way of going through and letting everyone know what happened last night and what the next steps are? Now, if you walk through it, everybody should know, oh, the next steps will be. But if a small organization knows that they're going to get a phone call from someone, a larger organization actually has a call tree where the owner calls two people, those two people call two people, and so forth. But the important part of that, again, you have to update your plan at least once a year, if not more often, when people change jobs or change positions even within the company, because all of a sudden that screws up the call tree.
Right.
So it's very important and that is very important because people don't know, do I go to work? What do I do now that there was this fire or tornado last night hit the building? And I don't know whether I can't even get close to there to find out what I'm supposed to do.
Let's not, I mean, say that everyone isn't prepared. So, for those who do have a plan, what would you say is something that's missing or something that gets overlooked?
What's overlooked is updating it. I've
Mm.
had a lot of people who say, yeah, we got a plan, again, up back here. And so my second question after I say, okay, what happens to it if you had a fire or tornado last night? What would you do today? The second thing I ask is, when was it last updated? Open it up and flip and tell me that everybody's in there is in the same position they were when that was written.
Right.
That's the second biggest issue. So they have a plan, but if they opened it up, some of the people that are supposed to lift the load aren't there anymore. So those tasks would be unfulfilled. So
It brings up another point, and I'm curious. It's sort of this sort of thing where you're building a plan, you think maybe it's overkill, or maybe you're going to worry people abnormally or unnecessarily. Do you get that a lot of people like that they don't want to build a plan because they're not really it's not that serious or like they're just not sure like they want to kind of alarm people especially as you just mentioned like you come on you're there for 3-4 days and maybe the first thing second thing they tell you is hey, in case of a tornado, in case of a fire, here's the plan.
no, I haven't actually.
Okay.
It's nice actually that it's kind of the opposite of people when I ask them, have you done a plan or ask the new receptionists if they know where to go in case of a fire. That's when they go, oh my gosh, I don't know. I should need to know. And I travel all over the United States, and trust me, I I ask early on because when I get to California, I don't know what to do in an earthquake in California. So
Right.
I always ask that early on myself because I'm just not used to what it feels like or where to go. And that's all different for me. So
Yeah, that's interesting. And you can always tell a person who's not from California in the middle of an earthquake because they don't know what to do.
that's right.
It's very
So
easy to tell the true Californians from being from here.
that's right.
Um, so we have a few more minutes, and I was curious because you are in the motor coach industry, and we just kind of finished the kind of motor coach travel season as far as conferences go. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what you gleaned from the ABA and UMA shows, what you heard about the industry, or maybe what your outlook is for the industry following those conferences?
The one thing I'm hearing is that it's getting better. People are much more optimistic. There are more new coaches that are being sold every year. The companies that are still around are becoming stronger. I'm getting more phone calls on diversity of business.
Hmm.
So I'm getting folks who are asking me about, I've never looked at school buses before, but now I want to. I've never looked at scheduled service before. Now I want to. And so, and I've got others asking about grants that go to the motor coach industry, such as the 5311F program or the CMAC program or some of those other federal grants that can help motor coach companies expand into other areas that they hadn't done before. Um, there's a great group out of DePaul University that puts out their paper every year, and they're noticing the same thing.
Yeah.
Ridership on scheduled service is up. So,
Yeah, that'll be up on our site pretty soon too. We do have a preliminary from the Chaddock Institute. Yeah, it's curious. I mean, I have talked to people. What's interesting, I shouldn't say curious. It's interesting. I have talked to people who, that's they've grown their strength in their motor coach operation by moving into something a little more stable or moving into different types of work that they weren't doing before. Um, I guess just to end, quick advice on things that you should look for when entering a new form of business.
just do your research. You can't just stick a bus on the road and start running up and down a route. There are reasons for it, but it's not hard to do research. And then the second thing is be prepared to spend some money on marketing. They need to know their best system, whether it's social media or otherwise. And that's the one thing I've found with a lot of motor coach companies and transit systems. They're not taking advantage of the marketing opportunities they could, the free ones in particular, on social media to get recognition of what they are doing and where they're going. So,
Right. Well, great, Mark. I appreciate your time. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll chat again soon.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for doing this for the industry.